Hi, today we'll be taking a look at 6 main decks from Vanguard V BT10. From Shadow Paladin we have Luard, Phantom Blaster Overlord. From Tachikaze we have Gaia Emperor and Ancient Dragons. From Spike Brothers we have Rising Nova, and from Mega Colony we have Gredora. Right, for machining, it may take some time since we are still testing it. Right, so these are the 6 main deck we'll be taking a look today. Hi, today we'll be taking a look at the latest Shadow Paladin deck from Vanguard V BT10 featuring Luard. Right, let's start with the main Vanguard. So activation, once per turn you can retire 2 of your grade 1 rear guards. If you do so, draw 1 and retire an opponent's rear guard. The second ability, the counterblast required for this cost is reduced by 1 for each grade 1 in your drop zone, which is the ritual. Right, so for the cost is counterblast 3. Return 2 normal units back to your deck from your drop zone, and from your deck write the other Luard, this one, on top of it in stand. Shuffle the deck, and at the end of turn, write this card from the soul in rest. Right, so technically you get 3 force marker within 1 turn. Next, we have the Drag Driver, Luard. So during your turn, for each of your grade 1 rear guards, this unit get power plus 5000. So potential plus 25,000. And when this card enters the field, you can counterblast 1. Search for the same amount of grade 1 from your deck as the amount of Luard in the soul plus 1 onto rear guard circle and shuffle the deck. Alright. So that's the main Vanguard, Luard. Next, we'll take a look at the grade 2 supports. First of all, we have Morfessa. So on the rear guard circle or in your deck, if you have Vanguard with Luard in name, this card get grades -1, so it's a grade 1. And after attacking battle, if you have 4 or more original grade 1 rear guards, you can counterblast 1, retire this unit from your drop zone, call a grade 1 onto the rear guard circle. Right. The next support we have is Learfield. So therefore, so enters the Vanguard rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1 from your deck, search for a grade 1, call it onto an empty rearguard circle and shuffle the deck. Alright, you can actually just go for 3 copies will do. Alright, since most of the time you have a full field and this thing is actually you get stuck in the hand. So I'll just play 3 copies if needed, and we'll play something else. We'll go to that later. Next, let's go for the grade 1. Let's start from the lower rarity. So for the rare, we have a new unit. So it's a grade 1 5000. If you have 5 or more grade 1 rear guards, this unit get power plus 15,000. That includes Morfessa. So, and it's continuous. So if you have full field grade 1, you can actually have a 20k unit on the field. So playing 3 copy. It works pretty well with Morfessa. After attacking, call this back on the field for a second attack with 20k base. Alright, so they work pretty well. Next we have the common card. So if your Vanguard is grade 3 and above, all grade 1 unit in your front row get intercept. Right, so you get additional shield in the front row. Right, you can actually just go for 1. So that will be 2 cards out already. Let's put this aside first. Next, we have a Luard support. Nice. So enters the Vanguard circle, look at top 7. Reveal up to 1 Luard, the main Vanguard, the VR, or the field, this one. Right, add it to your hand and shuffle the deck. When this card enters the rearguard circle by card effect, Soul Blast 1, your opponent retire 1 of his or her own rearguard. Alright, this is not a must play. You can actually just take them out if needed. Alright, so there's 4 cards already. Next we have the Abyssal Hour. The cost required for this card can be replaced by Soul Blast 1 if both players' vanguards have the same grade. So enters the field, counter blast 1, draw 1. Very simple. Right, so if you start second, you can instantly draw 1 by just Soul Blasting. Right, it's a good replacement for Swordbreaker, but of course Swordbreaker got an additional 5,000, which is useful in certain situations. Next, we have the Grade 3 Searcher. I feel that you can either play two of this or two of this. It's either one. Right, it's not a must play, but just take note that if you, we will go for that later. So next we have Charon. So it's a great combination with left field. So counter blast 1, call this, Soul Blast 1 to counter charge back. Next, of course, we have the main card, which is Neyman, which pull off most of the combo. Alright, so for modification, we can actually take out 4 of them, any 4 of them, from this, replacing with the Phantom Blaster Dragon early right. So we have, first of all, we have Vende. So if your Vanguard is a Blast Dark, you may Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, and from your deck, search and write a Phantom Blaster Dragon. And during this turn, this unit cannot activate the activation effect. Right, so it's early right. And next we have this grade 2, Hood. So mainly go for the second effect, activation, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit. From your deck, search for Blaster Dark, review it, add it to your hand. So by using Neyman, on my grade 1 turn, I can rest, call this, Soul Blast 1, retire, add Blaster Dark to hand. Next turn, rest it again, call Vende, retire to right Blaster, Phantom Blaster Dragon. Right, so it's early right. If you start first, you can actually go for grade 3 while your opponent is still at grade 1, which is pretty scary. But just take note that if you do not go to Luard after the next turn, this thing is actually pretty useless. So I don't really like this build. I'll just go for pure Luard. And by early riding, you can actually activate this Luard's second ability straight away, where all your grade 1 rearguard gets a critical 2. Right, so that's for the Luard deck. Alright, next we'll take a look at the Phantom Blaster deck build. So first of all, let's start with the new VR Phantom Blaster Overlord. So during your turn, if you have Phantom Blaster Dragon in Soul, this unit get power plus 10,000 and the original critical becomes 2. Next, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, counter blast 1, retire any amount of your rear guard, and your opponent retire the same amount. And from your deck, search for a card with Blaster in name, call it on the rearguard circle, shuffle the deck. During this turn, the unit card get power plus 10,000. Alright, so it's a Shadow Paladin's version of Blaster build. So not only is 23,000 base with 2 crit, you can actually go for multi-attack. Next, for the other 2 grade 3s, we are actually playing Phantom Blaster Dragon, which is the base. Right, just 2 copies in case one of them go to the damage zone at the start of the game. Next, we have an alternative right, which is Gas Blaster, which is pretty painful if you do the superior right and goes for force 2. In early game, you can actually hit for 4 crit on your first attack. Right, we tested it, it was pretty scary. And not only that, because the effect only requires your soul to have a Blaster, grade 3. So even if you failed your Phantom Blaster Dragon, by riding on top of PBO, you also get the same effect, right? Which is a very good alternative. Next, we'll go straight to the superior right mechanic, which is Dumbhood Dragon, which allows you to search for Blaster Dark by Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, and search for Blaster Dark. And since the 5k, you can call it out with name An. Right, so this we just play one copy because after that is practically useless. You can go for 2 copies if needed. Blaster Dark, and we have the new Witch. If you have Blaster Dark Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, search for Phantom Blaster Dragon from your deck, write it in stand, shuffle the deck. During this turn the unit enters, cannot use the activation effect. Right, so if needed you can actually just go for 2 copies and 2 copies of Dumbhood to make the deck a bit more stable. Right, so that's for the superior right units. Next, let's go take a look at the grade 2s. So we are actually playing both Leofield and Maha. So Leofield enters the field, counter +1 from your deck, search for up to 1 grade 1 on the empty rearguard circle. Well, Matcha is counter +1, call 1 grade 1 from your hand on the rearguard circle, draw 1, and this unit get power +5000. Alright, both of them have their own use for different situations. So normally the combination will be to call Charon to make it a free cost for additional rearguard on the field, but it works better in Matcha since you get to get additional power and also draw 1. So it goes for different situations, depending on the player. Next we have Swordbreaker and Abyssal Owl. Both unit gets to draw when it enters the field by paying the cost, counter +1, but if your Vanguard and your opponent's Vanguard is at the same grade, you can Soul Blast 1 instead. But since we are doing a superior right, most of the time you will be higher grade than opponent at the start of the game. So this card became pretty used. The cost is actually the same, but this get additional 5000. Alright, so we are playing 2-1. Next we have Matcha, which main engine of the whole deck, definitely at 4 copies. Next we have other blaster unit in the deck. So we have things like Rapier, which get power +5000 if you have 3 or more unit with blaster in name. And if the attack hits a Vanguard, counter +1, your opponent retire 1 of his or her own rearguard. And we have Javelin, enters the field if your other grade 1 unit, counter +1 to draw 1 and power +3000. Alright, so we have additional targets for our PBO. And not only that, you can also go for Blaster X, right, which is a vanilla with 10k shield. So it's essentially a 20k attacker, and you can actually just intercept at the end of the battle. Right, so for trigger, we are playing 6 draw, 6 crit. It's personal preference. 8 crit did pretty well, but I still prefer to have 6 draw in this deck. Right, so that's for the Phantom Blaster. Right, we'll be taking a look at the new Tachikaze deck featuring Gaia Emperor. Right, so this unit, during your turn, all your rearguards with equipped gauge get power +5000. If your opponent is grade 3 and above, you get power +10000 instead. Alright, that includes the back row. Next, when attacking, you can counter +1, retire 1 of your rearguard. By doing so, during this battle, this unit get the original power of the unit, and if your opponent is grade 3 and above, it also gets the original critical. Right, so we can actually play interesting units such as this. Right, this unit cannot be normal right, and it can only attack if there's a unit with equipped gauge in the same column, but it's a 27k attacker, so you can get a 39k base Vanguard if needed. Right, so this is one of the interesting unit that you can actually put in the deck for fun. Next, we have another new grade 3 which is a rare. When attacking a vanguard, retire one of your other rear guard, draw one. If we retire the unit with equipped cage, retire an opponent's rear guard. So not really a cost, since we need unit that actually eats your comrade. Right, this is a must play. You can actually go for 3 copies if needed. Next, let's go for the grade 2s. We'll start with the new units. Right, Pyros. So enters the field, counter +1, draw 1, call 1 from your hand, and you may put the top of your deck onto equipped cage. And as a rear guard, if it enters the field from an equipped cage during this turn, this unit get pop plus 10,000. So in order for the second effect to work, we need this new unit, which is a rare. When attacking, you can choose one of your rear guard, put the top of your deck under it as an equipped cage, and when this card gets retired by a card effect from a rear guard circle, you can call up to 1 unit from the equipped cage on the rear guard circle and put the top of the deck under it as an equipped cage. Ability of card with the same name can activate once per turn. So the idea is to somehow charge this as the equipped cage like this. So when so use the grade 3, either one of them, to eat it, call it out. Right, call out, draw 1, call another unit for multiple attack in 1 turn. Right, that's the main combo. Next, we have other grade 2s such as the sweeper, which it gets 1 equipped gauge, and you get 5 hop plus 5,000 for each equipped gauge on it. If there are 3 or more, opponent can use the effect to choose this unit. And when attacking a vanguard, you can put the top of the deck under it as an equipped gauge. We are playing 3 of these, since this is one of our main attacker. Next, we have Mega Rex, which when attacking vanguard, you can return one of the other rear guard, so you can actually combo off for the multi-attack. And you may also counter +1, put equipped gauge under this unit, and you get power plus 5,000 for each equipped gauge under it. Alright, so it's another attacker. You can actually go for 3 copies if needed. Right, so for the grade 1, we have the usual to support that increase your equipped gauge. Let's put this aside. Right, so the new addition. When attacking, choose one of your rear guard, put the top of your deck under it as a equipped gauge. Take note it's attacking. Right, it doesn't work when it boosts. And when retired by your card effect, you can call out 1 card from the equipped gauge. Right, which works similarly to this rare. Right, so you're playing 4 copies. This is for the multi-attack. Next, we have the grade 3 searcher, the usual, and you get power plus 5,000 if you have placed an equipped gauge onto a unit during this turn, which is pretty simple. Right, so this deck features on multi-attack, and not only that, because most of the new unit that you call out during your attack phase actually get equipped gauge, which means high chance they get additional power plus 10,000, which is pretty good compared to the previous one. Right, so this is Tachikaze. Also from Tachikaze, we have Ancient Dragon. Right, the new Ancient Dragon all have the same ability. Once per turn, when you trigger a front trigger, this unit gets critical plus 1. Right, so that explains why we are playing 12 front trigger here. Right, so we start with the main vanguard. So as a vanguard, once per turn, you may retire one of your rear guard, choose an opponent's rear guard, retire it, and from your deck, search and call up to 1 Ancient Dragon. Shuffle the deck. During this turn, that unit get power plus 5,000. Alright, so with this, we actually played this old promo card, Brim Putera. So when retire from rear guard circle, during this turn, 3 of your unit get power plus 3,000. It works very well. Next, we have the battle tops. Enters the field if you're Vanguard with Ancient Dragon in name. Counter +1, draw 1, this unit get pop +5000. Very simple. And we played the book from EB14. Counter +3, soul +3, draw 3, 3 of your front row unit get pop +10,000. Right, this is for a rush. Since we are not playing any heal, it's not a very good idea to drag out the game. So we try to finish as fast as possible. Next, we are playing the 12k vanilla. Right, which you can actually replace with other things such as Mega Rex, but since we are not playing, if you notice, there's no equip gauge at all. So actually the 12k attacker do pretty well in this deck. Next, we have 2 more Ancient Dragon. Enters the field from hand, counter +1. Look at 3 cards from the top of the deck. Search and call up to 1 Ancient Dragon among them. So you can actually early summon the grade 3 if needed. Next, if this is an additional rearguard circle, it cannot be retired by opponent's card effect and pop +5000. So it's a, if you're playing XL2, it's a 19k attacker. Right, so for grade 1, this is pretty simple. If your Vanguard is Ancient Dragon, this unit get pop +5000, so it's a 13k base. Next, when attacking or boosting and the attack hits a Vanguard, look at top 7, call up to 1 Ancient Dragon onto rearguard circle in rest. Pretty simple, is to flood the field early. And as for trigger, since we are rushing, there's not really a need for heal trigger. So we are playing 12 front and 4 draw. Alright, now we are taking a look at Spike Brothers, featuring the new grade 3 Rising Nova. Alright, so first ability, when it enters the field, you get both Imaginary Gift Force 1 and 2 at the same time. Alright, so you get 2 Force Marker at the same time, and it's 1 and 2. Alright, next, as a Vanguard by Soul Blasting 1, you can choose 2 of your grade 3 rearguards and you get all their abilities. Ability of card with the same name can activate once per turn. So you can choose himself. And as for target, the best target will be 3 of them. Right. So we have Boost Spike that by Soul Blast 1 you can move your Force Marker all to 1 unit. Next, we have the new double R. During your turn, this unit get pop +5000 for each of your force marker on the field. So +10,000 straight away. Next, after when attacking, you can counter +1 to stand 1 of your rearguard. Next, we have Siegfried, which we are not playing, but it's a good target. And we have Juggernaut to rush from early game. 23k attacker from the very beginning of the game is very scary. Right, so most of the time Rising Nova's target will mainly be Cyclone. Right, Boost Spike uses too much resources, so most probably only copy 1 time. Right, for the grade 2, we are playing the new unit. Enters the field, counter +1 from your deck. Search and call up to 1 grade 3. So most of the time we just call Juggernaut or any of the other grade 3 that you want to copy. And if this card is in the same column as a grade 3 unit, it gets boost, so it's a 10k booster. So no waste at all, definitely a 4 copy. Next, for grade 2, for this deck we are playing High Speed Blackie for the early rush and to go into soul if needed. But other options are things such as Bleach Speed. When attacking a Vanguard, put a normal unit from your drop zone back to bottom deck. During this battle, opponent can intercept. End of battle, send to soul and draw 1. which is a very good plus to the deck. So if you are not comfortable with black key, you can actually play 4 copies of this instead. And other options are things such as needle. If it's on a circle with force marker, you get pop plus 10,000. And also we have ran out. Enter the field from hand, counter +1, 1 card from hand to soul. Look at the same amount of cards from top of the deck as your Vanguard's grade. Call up to 3 to fill out the field. Right, but due to the cost constraint, I think this is still the best option. Next, we have Wonder Boy to recycle your drop zone and also to increase your soul. Next, we have this new unit. You can actually go for more copies if needed, but I go for 2 since I don't really use it in the early game. Alright, so enters the Vanguard circle, discard 1 card from hand to draw 1. Enters the rearguard circle, counter +1. Put a grade 2 and above rearguard from your field into soul, and from your deck search for up to 2 cards with the same grade, call them onto rearguard circle. So you can actually just choose any of the grade 3, push into soul, and pull 2 other grade 3 that you need on the field. Right, so you can go for 3 copies if needed, but I'm playing 2. We have Gyro Slinger, enters the field, 1 card from hand to soul. Look at the same amount of cards from top of the deck as your Vanguard's grade. Call up to 1 on the rearguard circle, the rest the bottom deck, and you get pop plus 5,000. Alright, so the ideal is to look at the top cards. Hopefully there's Blackie or Juggernaut on the field with 2 force marker. Copy this ability and you can do multi-attacking with huge power. This deck is actually pretty scary when we tested it. Next, we have the Grid 3 Searcher, which get pop plus 5,000 if you caught a card by card effect during this turn. So for trigger, we still need a draw. Right, previously we tried 12 crit. It's not very stable. So the usual 4 draw, 8 crit, and 4 heal. Right, next we'll be taking a look at Mega Colony. So before I continue, let's take a look at the new marker, Cradle. So if there's a Cradle marker on the unit, that unit loses all its ability and reduce the power by its original power. Right, so by reducing it to 0, if it's on let's say Force 1, it will be a 10,000 base, and the unit loses intercept and boost. When the unit with the Cradle marker gets retired, right, even if you replace it, right, the only way that it won't activate is by returning back to hand or getting bind. Straight away bind. If you get retires and bind, this still activates. So the owner will get to search for 1 card with the same grade from deck, add it to a hand. So I put it on my opponent's unit. If get retired, I get to search a card. That's the reason why we are playing the grade 1 Sentinel. Right, so by placing it onto opponent's grade 1 unit at the early game, I can search for a Sentinel for free. Right, so that's the reason why we are playing the grade 1 Sentinel. Next, let's take a look at Gredora, which is your main grade 3. So once per turn, counter +1, choose 2 of your opponent's rearguard with no Cradle marker, put a marker onto it. And next, which is the main effect, when attacking, retire 1 of your rearguard from your deck, search for up to 1 grade 3, call it on the rearguard circle, shuffle the deck, and during this turn, this unit and that unit get pop plus 10,000. Alright, so the best combination would be with this common card from EB01. Enters the field, choose an opponent's rearguard, rest it, choose 1 of your rearguard and stand it. So you can actually have multi-attack in this deck, potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacks. And not only that, continuous. the unit in the same column as this unit, the back row, cannot stand during your opponent's stand phase. So multi-purpose common card. Next we have another new addition. Dark Face. Enters the field, discard one card from hand. Place a cradle marker to an opponent's rearguard with no cradle marker. When attacking opponent's vanguard, counterblast 1, retires an opponent rearguard with cradle marker. If you do so, you get power plus 5,000 for each of his grade. Right, so it's a power attacker. But it don't really work that well, so we are playing with 2 copies only. Next, we have an alternate grade 3. Right, because for cradle marker, for deck that only features only focus on cradle marker, you have issue with decks that do not have rearguard, such as Grand Blue and Silverthorn. Right, so these are alternative, which have a triple drive, and if you are lucky, your opponent cannot call the specific grade from hand to guard. Right, so it's a good alternate right. It actually worked pretty well from this to Gredora on Gredora to this. Alright, after a few test play. So we are playing 2 copy as a backup. Next we have Mantis, counterblast 1, look at top 6, add a grade 3 to hand, and this unit get power plus 6,000. Right, 3 copies as the attacker. Next we have 2 units that make use of the cradle marker. First one, enters the field, counterblast 1, look at top 6, add up to 2 different cards with dark face in name to hand. So in this deck we have 2 targets, Gredora and dark face. And when attacking, you can soul plus 1. This unit get power plus 6,000 for each unit on your opponent's field with cradle marker. If this unit's power is 20k and above, draw 1. Right, so one of our combo that we did was, when my opponent have only 1 card with cradle marker, we use Butterfly Officer to give it power plus 10,000, 19,000 plus 5, 25,000. After attacking, use our grade 3, restand it, so I get to draw 2 cards during that turn. Next, very simple, continuous. This unit get power plus 6,000 if your opponent have rearguard with cradle marker. And when this unit get retires by your card effect, soul plus 1, put a cradle marker to opponent's rearguard. Right, which works well with Gredora. Next, Officer for the power plus 10,000. So I can essentially just get any of my unit to have power plus 10,000 for the restanding combo. And end of turn send it to soul to counter charge, since this deck uses a lot of counter blasts. Next, we have Phantom Black for the guard restrict. And 2 other new units. Enter the field, discard 1 card from hand, draw 1. If you discard grade 3, put a cradle marker to opponent's rearguard with no cradle marker. So you can actually put cradle on opponent since the first turn. Next, retire this unit. Retires an opponent's rearguard with cradle marker. Search and call up to 1 unit with the same grade. So not only you get to call, you get to draw another card by the cradle marker's own effect. But it's very situational, so we're playing 2 of these. Next, for the triggers, as you can see, it's a bit messy. Right. So most of the time you have 2 draw. You can actually replace this with another grade 1. This Sentinel for another grade 1 Sentinel if needed. But this is to mess up your opponents, not letting them know what trigger you're playing your deck. Right, so it's up to personal preference. This worked pretty well, and since we are playing Protect Clan, you can actually essentially just go for this 3 of this instead, since we have Protect marker to our hand. Alright, but if you are playing for Protect 2, you can actually just go for 3 of this and just make it 4 creep like this. Right, so that's for Gredora.